4 years I worked on The Chosen. We shot episode 3 of season 1, which is Jesus with the kids. And I'm just standing there watching Jonathan as Jesus.
Yeah.
You can see the tears welling up in Jonathan's eyes. There's such a pride, such a love in his eyes. And it just hit me. This is how Jesus sees me. This is how Jesus looks at me. And I thought, wow, this has the potential to be so powerful. Dallas, Jonathan, Paris, Shahar, Liz. I mean, all of these people that you see are just flawed human beings trying to tell a wonderful story.
I'm here with Justen Overlander, best known for his production work on The Chosen and Journey to the Sermon on the Mount. He also co-produced the Shift film, which was written and directed by Brock Heasley, who I interviewed. That's episode 43 of the show. He is also associate producer of Anti, a short film about the Antichrist created by a brother and sister duo, Noah and Jenna Sue Bennett, who I also had the honor and privilege of having on the show. That was episode 51 of Then God Moved. I would love to get into your work, but first let's explore your background. I know you live in Minneapolis. We were actually trying to make an in-person interview happen when I was in Minneapolis a few months back. It didn't work out, but you live in Minneapolis. Where did you grow up, and what was your early knowledge of God as a child?
Sure. I grew up in a real small town in western Minnesota, but I grew up Christian. I don't have a great coming to God story. Always went to church. My mom was a Sunday school teacher, and it just was never something that I necessarily questioned. It's just you say your bedtime prayers at night, you go to church, you go to Sunday school. You don't say OMG. You don't do stuff like that. You know, I say OMG. I don't say the actual words. For me, OMG is oh my goodness or oh my gravy or something weird like that. But no, I grew up there, went to school in South Dakota, actually, for teaching, and was an elementary school teacher for a little bit and coach. And that lasted all of 6 years. Just the film industry was calling for me. Ended up producing my first feature in 2009, I think, so about 15 years ago. And it's terrible. I wouldn't ever recommend anybody go watch it. Like it is just not a good movie, but I don't regret doing it because I learned so much and made some lifelong friends in the process. And just kept kind of scratching and clawing, getting acting gigs here and there, getting some writing assignments. Started my own production company, did like educational videos, industrial type videos. You know, moved out to LA for a little bit to really try to do the acting thing out there. Did a couple fun things. I really enjoyed my time out there. But at that time, it was my wife and me and 3 kids. And to raise a family in Southern California is really, really expensive. So we came back to Minnesota, and I was going to just quit the industry. And that's probably the second deepest depression I've ever fallen into. The first, of course, being after my sister passed away. But when we came back to Minnesota and I felt like such a failure, I was ready to just give up the industry. So I kept praying, God, just take the desire away. I don't want this desire. Man, it's torture. And then I told in small markets, you can have multiple agents. So I told one talent agent that I had returned. And I said, I don't know if I'm going to pursue much or not, but I just wanted to let you know I'm back home. And they sent me out on an audition like very shortly after we moved back. And it was for a national commercial. And I booked it. And it paid halfway decently. And it was fun to just be on set again. And then the very next audition I went on, I booked that, and I'm like, all right, I don't book a lot. I mean, no actor books a lot. Like it's 10, 15, 20 no's for every yes. And here I had 2 yeses right back to back. I thought, okay, I guess I won't just completely quit it. And it wasn't long after that I saw The Shepherd that Dallas did for his church, which is considered the pilot episode for The Chosen. Found out that they needed somebody on their team. And I reached out to Dallas, who I'd known for a number of years. I said, can I help you out? And he said, well, we just need help with like social media. You're not going to like that. I said, I don't have to like it. I know that this has potential and this is going to go somewhere. I said, well, okay. I mean, if you want to, you might hate it. I said, I don't care if I hate it. I believe in the purpose. I believe in the call. I believe in this project so much that I wanted to just do it. And just ended up getting to know Dallas better through the process. And I mean, just the did a little bit of everything eventually. I mean, I'm on set reading lines with Eric Avari, who plays Nicodemus, helping him with some pronunciation stuff. I'm thinking, wow, this is really cool. This is, I've enjoyed Eric's performances on everything from Mr. Deeds to, what's the science fiction one? I can't even remember, but just like, wow, this is really cool. I'm hanging out with cool people now, and yeah, it was such a blessing and just such good timing. And then when it came time to shoot the first 4 episodes of season 1, my youngest was old enough now, or I should say my oldest was old enough now that she could babysit my 2 younger kids. So I was able to go down to Texas for 4 months at a time. If it was 1 year earlier, I would have had to say, no, I can't go be on set. I can't do this because I have to be here taking care of my kids. My wife works and she works outside of the home. And the timing was just amazing there. And it just, for me, looking back on it now, it's a reminder of just how perfect God's timing is. Because if The Chosen, and this is so self-centered of me to say this, because The Chosen isn't about me. I've said this about Jonathan Rumi too. I mean, he's the right age and the right look for Jesus. 10 years ago, he probably would have looked a little too young. 10 years from now, he probably would look a little too old to play 30, 31, 32, 33-year-old Jesus. So God's timing in the whole Chosen process is way, way beyond me, of course. But in my story, the timing was right. And I was tremendously blessed to be able to be a part of that for 2 seasons and 4 years. 4 years I worked on The Chosen for pretty much 10 to 12 hours most days, 7 days a week. I didn't do 10 to 12 on the weekends, but there was always weekend stuff to be done in addition to just all the weekday things. It was
So were you mostly
taxing.
producing? Or did you write also? Okay.
I was not a writer on it. I think I gave Dallas one suggestion and he kind of laughed. He and Ryan and Tyler are the writers of the show. They consult the biblical experts, of course, but it's their show, and I have no right. I have no say in what they put on camera. But I helped choreograph a few things. Helped with the wedding dance, teaching the actors and the background actors, and got to be the DJ at the actual wedding dance. So I'm off camera counting down 2, 3, 4, yes, And I mean, we were doing that at like 4 a.m, and it was just it was the realization of some of my dreams to just be on a show and working with so many other creative people in an environment that I really desired to be in. And this was just months after I was praying so desperately for God to take the desire away from me.
That's a word. Like, you surrendered that thing and you said, take this. It's yours. And he was like, I have a fantastic place for this.
Well, I wasn't that polite about it though, Adira. I was mad. I wasn't surrendering it to him. I was saying, how dare you give me this desire? How dare you place this in my heart? Or conversely, if this isn't you putting it in my heart, how dare you not wash it clean? How dare you not take it away? So I was a little pill. I was a brat about it. And I have a feeling God just kind of smirks and says, just you wait,
So what did you see on the set of The Chosen? Maybe on film days or behind the scenes? Like, how did you see God's hand on the project? Because it's obvious to anyone, whether you watch it or not, even just observing the culture around it and the growth, just that there is a project that centers Jesus and the biblical Jesus, not some fluffy one. and that it's taken the culture by storm. That's God. Like, it's obvious that God is behind this thing. So what did that look like?
So week one of shooting, week one of principal photography for the first 4 episodes, we shot episode 3 of season 1, which is Jesus with the kids. I think it was day 2 actually, and the crew were kind of standing off watching. I mean, it's so much hurry up and wait. There's so much to do, and then you finally let the cameras roll, and so we're all kind of tired, and I'm just standing there watching Jonathan as Jesus,
Yeah.
sitting down while these kids are singing, um, "Behold, how good and how pleasing," and there's you can see the tears welling up in Jonathan's eyes. They're not tears of sadness. It's not that tears are going to come out, but there's moisture there. There's such a pride, such a love in his eyes, and it just hit me. This is how Jesus sees me. This is how Jesus looks at me. Even when I'm being a pill, he still loves me that much. And so I'm standing there and, trying to be all macho, but all of a sudden I'm just, I'm starting to, my shoulders are starting to go up and down because I'm trying to hold in. I'm trying to fight back these tears. And I thought, wow, this has the potential to be so, so powerful. And I knew that I wanted it to find an audience because at that point we had no idea. We're still fairly low budget. I mean, by Hollywood standards, we're shoestring budget, and there's no guarantee that even creating something that we love and that niche audiences love, there's still no guarantee that it's going to have a shelf life. We didn't know at that point we were going to shoot episodes 5 through 8, and me standing there starting to cry while I'm watching Jonathan Rumi portray my Lord and Savior and tears welling up. That was one of the most impactful moments I've ever had in my life, and especially being on a film set. So, and I'll say this, Adira. You say, clearly God is behind this. I believe that 100%. But I also want to acknowledge God is using a bunch of flawed men and women to do this. I'm severely flawed, and He saw it fit to allow me to be used. Dallas, Jonathan, Paris, Shahar, Liz. I mean, all of these people that you see are just flawed human beings trying to tell a wonderful story. And I think that God has such a knack for using flawed people. I mean, you don't have to study the life of David too long and hard to realize just how flawed of a human being he was, and yet he wrote some of the most beautiful psalms in existence. So it's a testament to how God, and again, anybody that's listening or watching right now, if you're in a place where you think, I've got to fix this in my life before God can use me, or I am just not worthy of leading this small group, I'm not worthy of leading the prayer in Sunday school, I'm not worthy of writing a blog or creating a vlog or writing a book or even talking to my neighbor about Jesus. You are. You're absolutely worthy. God doesn't need you to clean up your life before He can use you. It's not to say you shouldn't clean up your life, but don't wait. Don't wait to do what God wants you to do until you feel like you're worthy of doing it. Because A, you'll never be worthy of doing what God needs you to do. You never will be. We're all just far too flawed. And B, God uses flawed people.
Yep. Mic drop.
Well, so thought's over. I'm sorry if I got a little passionate.
Which I've heard that there have been cast members who are who are non-believers who are kind of like, I don't know, it seems like God is kind of at work in their hearts because of just the life on set, and because of, I don't know if it's the message of the story that you're telling, or if it's that there's so many believers in one spot. I don't know, but I've heard from Noah and just seen a few interviews that he's done with people who have themselves crew, potentially, but I know cast members who have, in a way, come to know the Lord because of the culture of the chosen.
And honestly, to me, this sounds flippant, but I don't care. I don't care one bit if somebody in the cast or on the crew comes to Jesus because they were on the set of The Chosen. I love them regardless. All I'm doing, all we're doing is planting seeds. It's none of my business what God wants to do with that seed. So I I I I don't talk about their faith. It's not my place to do so. I am still very close with a number of cast and crew from The Chosen, and we don't like when we talk. It's not, hey, how has God worked in your life lately? It's just we're how I don't know how are the kids? How's the new baby doing? It's stuff like that because that's I think what humans talk about, and we shouldn't be so concerned about converting everybody. We should just live and shine our light and let God water that seed that we plant.
Yeah,
That's my and that's flawed. I'm not saying that's right. That's the way I approach it, and I feel like it's a healthy way for me to approach it.
no, that checks out. So back to as a creative, your mental health, like how you have managed your mental health as a creative. How have you been able to kind of keep momentum in your own projects and the things that you've been hired to work on in those valleys?
Yeah, for me, it's just making sure that I'm serving the people that I need to serve on a project. Even if it's my own project, there are still people that I'm hiring and bringing on board. And I believe that the best leaders are servants. And so I'm always looking for ways that I can serve my colleagues, my peers, my friends, my coworkers. Um, it shouldn't be about me, and it never is. I say that out loud, but I'm sure there are times where I get these selfish mindsets, and I'm like, yeah, but shouldn't I get to do this? Shouldn't I get to do that? Why didn't I, you know, get to do that role or what have you? That's just the enemy trying to play with selfishness, trying to play with greed. So for me,
Yeah.
when whether I'm up here or whether I'm down there, at a mountaintop or in a valley, I really try so hard to just make it about those that I'm around and try to just serve them and be a light, be a light for them. And it's funny because I've worked with people that this is strictly a business. You know, when we do this, it's business and you are working business. I'm like hugging and making jokes and friendly. I mean, to me, it's all about relationships. I want to be in business with you less than I want to be your friend. And that might be backwards. That might not be the right way to approach it. There are actually books written that say don't do it that way. Keep business, business, friendship, friendship. I can't. I can't draw that line. I'm an empath through and through. I want when somebody else is hurting, I'm hurting with them. And so if you're hurting, I want to do what I can to make you feel better. I mean, on the set of The Chosen, I was super, super busy, and yet I spent probably an hour, maybe an hour 15, with a woman who had brought her grandchild to be a background actor. And this woman had just lost her husband like a couple of weeks ago. And I just sat tucked away and consoled her. And I didn't even console her. I just listened. Like I just said, tell me about your husband. And it was, I don't know if it meant anything to her or not, but I just felt like at that moment, God needed me to be a support for that person. That was more important than a TV show. That was more important than, um, whatever else was supposed to be going on at the moment. I just wanted to be a fellow human for somebody in need.
Which is kind of, again, how you can see how this is so much bigger than what it's producing. Like, it's so much bigger than just us all being able to watch the product on screen. Between, like, the lives change of the people working on it, and then it sounds like people who are coming to set. And then, of course, the many lives impacted on the back end by the stories that are being told. It's just kind of, I don't know. People call it a movement. Do you see it as that? They're like The Chosen, this movement. Do you see it as this then
I see the chosen as part of a movement. The chosen isn't the movement. The movement is God reintroducing himself to the world and doing it through means that are reaching people in ways that maybe the written word isn't going to reach people. And some of the criticism that the chosen has gotten is you're trying to rewrite the Bible, or you're trying to replace the Bible. No, if the chosen doesn't lead somebody to scripture, then the chosen has failed. If it leads somebody to scripture, then that is successful. The chosen is just one tool, one piece that God is using right now. I think God is using music tremendously. God is using other movies, other TV shows, even secular projects. I think God is using. I've had a Billy Joel song preached to me before. When I told you not too long ago, I was praying, why do I have this desire? Why am I so drawn to this film industry when it doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen? And this wasn't that long ago. I mean, this was 15 years ago. No, 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. I mean, I had tastes of success, but I hadn't achieved what I thought I was supposed to achieve. So I'm praying, why? And a song that I hadn't heard in years comes into my head. It's Billy Joel. Don't ask me why. I'm like, God, did you just use? I think Billy Joel might be an atheist. It's not my place to talk about other people's faith.
Yeah.
But did God just use a secular song to talk to me? Is that his voice? It was to me. Some people might vehemently disagree with that. But at that moment, it sure felt real to me to have a song, Don't Ask Me Why by Billy Joel. I'm sure I hadn't heard in years.
I mean, yeah, you're not crazy. U2 preaches to me all the time. My friends will roll their eyes because I'm obsessed with U2. Like, I saw them at the Sphere. I love U2, and God has used them massively in my life. So I believe you 100%. And I've definitely had times where I pray something, only a few times though, where I've prayed something, or not even in the moment of prayer, but those like passive prayers. It's like you're talking to yourself, and then God just responds, and you're like, "Oh, I wasn't even talking to you." But hey, and it was one of you know, thinking, and I've had songs come into my head where I'm like, okay, like God, 100% just put that in my heart, which is fascinating. It's fascinating.
But I got to say, Where the Streets Have No Name is one of my 10 all-time favorite songs. That makes my top 10 list. And Angel of Harlem is such an underappreciated song. Like, I just love Angel of Harlem. Rattle and Hum is
Rattle
tremendous.
and Hum is so underappreciated. Yes,
Yep.
Agree 100%. I'm from Memphis, so blues is in my bloodstream.
Yeah,
it's true. Do you have a favorite episode or scene from The Chosen?
I still go back to episode 1 when Jesus redeems Mary, because Mary represents so many people. I think it's again what I alluded to before. Sometimes you feel like you have to clean everything up before God can use you. I mean, Jesus calls Mary by name at that very moment. And whether it's, did it happen that way 2,000 years ago? Who knows? Probably not. I mean, it's plausible, but Jesus cast out demons from Mary. That's in scripture. So we don't know exactly how it happened, but to see him call her by name and just hold her like that. And again, it's the look in Jonathan's eyes. It's, the just the release that Liz Tabish, who plays Mary Magdalene, the release that she as an actress has at that moment felt so real. And it was freezing cold. Like, it was record cold in Texas when we did that. There were actually snowflakes in the air. And so everybody's shivering outside, but the power of that moment was just so impactful. And then it was remarkable there in the moment, without any music, without any editing, without color correction. I mean, just watching it live, it's like, wow, this is pretty good. And it's another one of those, I gotta fight back a tear here. I gotta fight back a tear. I gotta look professional. And then when you see it in the final, finished episode, it's just with the music and everything, it's so impactful. So that still to me is my the most impactful moment for me. My favorite scene might be the wedding dance, just because of how involved I was in the creation of that, with the helping with, I didn't create the choreography, but I helped teach the choreography, and being able to dance with all those people and be there. I mean, it's like I said, it was 3, 4 in the morning when we were doing that scene. Everybody was just kind of punch drunk. We were tired, but so energized because the music is blaring loud, and it was different music on the set than what we used in the actual episode. But the energy was just tremendous. And it was also like, I think we wrapped at 5:30 that morning, and my flight home was 10 a.m. So we wrap, and then I hustle and get in a car with another producer, Justen Overlander, and I mean, about an hour away from the airport in Weatherford, or actually Poolville, Texas. So I was excited and energized to just go home and see my family, because I hadn't seen them in over a month. And so the impact of that scene had it's so layered for me. So that was my favorite moment in the show, I think.
Okay. Huh. Do you miss it?
Yeah, definitely. I miss being around my friends. We had so many great times. So many very, very talented people, so many genuine people, and the on-set time was my favorite always. The in between shooting got to be a little too much for me. It was, I mean, I, I'm not exaggerating when I say I don't think I took an entire day off in the 4 years that I worked for The Chosen. There was always something. Even when my family was out on vacation, I would be checking in on things. And I don't know that there was ever 24 hours that I completely unplugged from The Chosen, even holidays. I remember one Christmas, we were opening gifts Christmas morning, and in between unwrapping, I would say, okay, hold on a second. I would run to a different room and check to make sure that our live stream was going. We had a live stream. I don't remember precisely what it was, if it was just the shepherd playing over and over again. But I would go in and check on that, and sometimes have to respond to a couple comments or what have you. But I, I don't know that it was super healthy to operate the way that we did, but we were so small at the beginning. It was essentially Dallas and me running all of the social media stuff, and Daryl Eves running YouTube, or overseeing the YouTube, and then me doing a lot of the executing of posting the videos and commenting and such. We grew, and I was able to hire people to do some of the things that I was doing. But as we grew, even though you have more people to work on it, you have a bigger audience. You have more outreach. You have, you're connecting with Up TV. I mean, that was a big deal for us. That was before, Amazon Prime picked it up, and now you can see it pretty much any streaming platform. So I miss parts of it, but I needed to step away, because I needed to be a dad and a husband, and not just a TV producer. And now I get to be all of those, which is great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would love to talk about what you're working on now. I checked, of course, your IMDb, and you have Merry Christmas, Elijah coming up. My Seven Grandmas coming up. What's most interesting to me is you're producing a film about a child with fetal alcohol syndrome, which is so important. It's close to my heart in a sense. I worked 2 years after, for the 2 years after college, I worked in death penalty appeals. That's what took me to Atlanta. So 2 years just kind of trying to get people off death row, trying to get their sentences commuted. And we had a client with fetal alcohol syndrome, and it's just the saddest thing, because like between the syndrome and the poverty he grew up in and the parental addiction, obviously his life chances were just shot in so many ways. Like, he was born with very few chances. And I'm hoping the story you're telling has a happier ending than someone ending up on death row. But regardless, what an important topic to talk about. How did you decide, or how did you even find that project? How did you, I don't know if you were part of the writing team, but how did you even come across this?
Yeah, so interestingly, about a week after I stepped away from The Chosen, and I don't know that I even announced it on social media, a friend of
When was
mine,
this?
it was just over 2 years ago, I think. Yeah, about 2.5 years ago, I think, actually. Um, a guy that I had known here in Minneapolis caught wind that I had stepped away from The Chosen and said, "Hey, let's have coffee." And he told me all about this project of his. At the time, it was a documentary, and the documentary still is part of the docket, but it's actually, you bring up fetal alcohol syndrome, so it's a bigger umbrella category. It's fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. Fetal alcohol syndrome goes under that umbrella, but fetal alcohol spectrum disorders includes more than 400 comorbidities. So any amount of alcohol exposure in utero can and does oftentimes lead to lack of potential. It leads to a deficiency. It leads to ADHD. It leads to autism. It leads to anxiety. It leads to all kinds of, I mean, like I said, over 400 comorbidities. And so what's happening right now is oftentimes we slap a label of autism on a kid, and then they get the government support, the financial support, the parents get supports, they get put into, the Title I programs, they get their IEP. That's not the end all be all solution. If there's something more going on, and what alcohol does when it is exposed to a fetus is it stunts the brain growth. So there's pieces of the brain that actually do not develop because of alcohol exposure. So this isn't a mental illness. This is acute trauma. Alcohol literally took away potential from that child. Now,
Yeah.
one thing that we're trying to be really careful of is not stigmatizing mothers. So many times, mothers either are told the incorrect information. There are doctors, there are OBGYNs out there that will say, "Oh, yeah, a glass of wine's not a big deal. Have a beer here and there. That's not going to hurt anything." No, it could. And there are women out there who don't know they're pregnant that are drinking. And there are women who have a chemical dependency on alcohol. So they need support. They need to have counseling and help in fighting something that they have no control over. So we're not anti-alcohol. This project is not an anti-alcohol project. I enjoy a glass of wine at night. I enjoy an old fashioned. I found out that I kind of like old fashions. Um, I don't drink to get drunk, but I have trauma in the past due to alcohol that kind of prevents me from getting to that level, I think. So blessing and a curse, I guess. What we are is we are pro support, pro education, pro awareness, just getting people to recognize that this is a condition that conservative studies estimates affects 5% of the population. So 1 in 20. One in 20 kids are believed to have fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. That's higher than autism. And everybody knows about autism. Now, autism can be caused by fetal alcohol exposure. So, I'm getting a little more technical than probably you hoped, but I'm so passionate about this. And when my partner in this project, Joel Chagrin, a tremendous man of God, he adopted 2 children, and they were both exposed to alcohol in utero. And the older of the 2 was diagnosed with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder at, now I'm going to forget. It was either age 14 or age 16. I think it was 16. I could be wrong. I should know that off the top of my head. And so Joel made it his passion, his kind of his life dream. And Joel's an award-winning photographer and advertising cinematographer. Like he's tremendously gifted and talented, and he just needed somebody to come along and help kind of streamline the process. So we had coffee and he told me, and he had done just so much research. He has, at that point, he had, I think, about 100 hours of interviews with leading experts on fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. And so he gives me this packet of information. He's talking about 8 different things, And I said, no, I stepped away from the chosen to be a dad and a husband. I need to do that right now. I need to do that. And then, of course, I start to research fetal alcohol spectrum disorder a little bit more. And I'm like, oh, man, the world does need to know more about this. So yeah, the documentary is still happening in the backdrop. We've got at least 100 hours of footage because we've gotten more since Joel was doing this on his own. But now we've got a feature narrative where the lead character has fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. And he's misunderstood. So many times these kids they're mislabeled. They're the problem child. They're just, behavior problems. Let's just stick them in detention. Let's expel them from school. And then they become criminals. The criminal justice system is inundated with people that were affected by alcohol in the womb. So what's the answer? First of all, we just got to make people aware that this is a real thing. And then there are methods of helping them. Fetal alcohol spectrum disorders are incurable, but they're treatable. And so through better interventions, better knowledge for teachers, to just the executive functioning in these kids is completely different. Their brain literally doesn't work the same way that quote unquote a neurotypical brain would work. So yes, they fall into the category of neurodivergence. And it's no fault of their own. And so I get so empathetic and I mean, I'm empathetic to more marginalized groups than a lot, especially in the Christian world. I'm very empathetic to neurodivergence. I just think it's not our job to quote unquote fix the sin or what have you. It's our job to love on them, and then God will work his magic.
Yep.
So there's a lot of wonderful documentaries out there about mental wellness, but there's not a ton of characters in fictional stories that are identifiable as being neurodivergent. And so I want to represent that more in the projects that we do. I mean, look at Matthew in The Chosen. I had nothing to do with the creation of him being on the spectrum, but I think, I learned through that so many people are connecting to that character because of his neurodivergence. And I mean, I have people that still to this day will send me pictures. My son dressed up like Matthew for Halloween. Can you send this to Paris? Because their child is neurodivergent and they finally see somebody that they can connect to. Look, we can talk about race and gender identity and all that stuff and wanting to represent everybody on screen. We can't have those conversations without talking about having neurodivergence represented on screen. It's unfair and unreasonable to make it all about what's in the zeitgeist right now. But we need to have a better representation of neurodivergence, and not just as the sidekick, the butt of the joke, and not just as the psycho killer. We have to show neurodivergence in the real world and have people interacting with them. And we need them to be the heroes of the stories because they have every chance of being a hero just as much as anybody else. Gary, another soapbox moment.
If a person cares about racial injustice, then they must care about neurodivergence because these are in many ways tied. A person who has any sort of wealth or even just life chances, whether it's just people in your family who have means, is in a totally different situation than someone who is low income, especially if you're in a low income area. If you are in a, what we call the ghetto, if you're in a black neighborhood without life chances, better than anyone. If you're in a school that has few resources and you are neurodivergent, those are totally different worlds. I went to an all girls Episcopalian school, mostly white school. I have ADD. A lot of my friends have are on the spectrum in some way, whether, not the spectrum, autism spectrum, but they're neurodivergent. They're in the
Mhm,
same camp as me. And most of us are thriving. We're doing very well.
mhm,
We have all sorts of opportunity. If I had been at a school in my neighborhood, because I went to this all white, privileged school, but grew up in the inner city in my grandma's house. So like old neighborhood, white flight neighborhood, was once like a prosperous black neighborhood and is now downtrodden. So I, went from that neighborhood to this rich neighborhood every single day. If I gone to my neighborhood school, who knows?
mhm.
Who knows? So it's so true what you're saying. We can't just prioritize race and gender and kind of like remove them and talk about them as these isolated things and not talk about things like neurodivergence. It's
Uh,
just
ma-
whether you're in the prison system or you're just out and about, those things are tied. Yeah.
yeah, making anything about race or gender diminishes it to something that isn't going to make any headway ever. Because I don't care about your skin color. I don't at all. I don't want to have that be a factor in anything. I want to know your heart. I want to know your brain. I want to know what makes you tick. And I'm working actually with a nonprofit in inner city Minneapolis. It's called the Man Up Club. And Cross, he's a recording Christian hip hop artist. He has a program designed specifically and entirely for 14 to 24-year-old young black men. Because statistically, he goes around the room and he'll say, 1, 2, you're going to prison. 1, 2, you're going to prison. 1, 2, you're going to prison. Because 1 in 3 end up in
Yep.
prison. It's not because they're
Yeah.
black. It's because they are in an area. They're in, like you said, the hood, the projects. They are growing up lower middle class, lower class. I mean, in some cases, some of them are becoming homeless at the age of 14, 15, 16. They're becoming fathers at the age of 14, 15, 16. This is not about race. This is about human beings. I'm sorry, I don't,
Worked up.
I do because we we are in a time right now where things are so divisive.
No, that's fair. I think I will say, I think first of all, I have a lot of low income white friends. So like I
Hmm.
college especially, I have a number of friends, especially like rural, who are like kind of the first in the first in their family to go to college. I mean, the first in their neighborhood to go to college. You know, the options in their area are just blue collar jobs, and everyone in the town is proud because they are leaving and going to college. So it's like I grew up, or mostly didn't grow up with, but in college had friends who were low income and white, and so it's like obviously that is a very real thing. I was grew up more privileged than they did. At the same time, I think that often socioeconomic status is tied to race. Like we can't say that those are never, like for many, many people, it's like they're inheriting generational wealth. And we all know because of history who
Yep,
generally had wealth 2, 3
yep.
generations ago,
Hmm.
certain demographics. So I think, I see class as like the thing that people don't want us to talk about. And they want us to talk about race all day long and divide, divide, divide instead of talking about class and opportunity and resources, which is, I look at scripture and it's like so much of scripture is about resources. And I took a
Hmm.
class in seminary called The Bible and Poverty, and we talked a lot about this. And it's like there's a spiritual dimension to this, and there are powers that be that don't want us to talk about resources and live the way that we're called to live. There are, the Acts 2 church, that was radical. Like that's not that we're supposed to all give away our things, but there is a call to live in this open-handed way where we look at our resources as something that it's from God, it belongs to God, all of these things that are from God that we hold in common and that we
Hmm.
are holding with open hands because we recognize this is not mine at the end of the day and that we're generous with. And it's just crazy because at the same time that we're saying white supremacy is wrong, which we know it is, and as
Hmm.
believers we all should be in agreement about that, we're also being told that we have to stick to our camps and we must, vote along with your camp and think along with your camp and hang out with your camp. And it's just, these are crazy times. And it's like, as we, just timeline wise, I'm not saying Jesus is coming next month, but as we know, timeline wise, that we're the world is passing away, and it's passing away closer and closer and faster as time goes on. It is so eerie to me that the culture is saying divide, 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 divide. And this time
Mhm.
when time is short and things are ending, and we're being told, cut everyone off, stick to your camp, stick to your party line, and basically worship this idol. Just worship this golden calf of like sameness, and it's just very it's freaky. It's freaky to
Yeah.
me, and it's not by happenstance. It's like very clearly intentional and tells all this time. Obviously, I think about Paul writing to the churches and spending so much time, so much ink on unity and trying to get people to see beyond their ethnic group. And it's like that's the gospel, is that this is not your camp, this is not your identity. You're not a Gentile, you're not a Jew, like you are, and that's beautiful. And we celebrate these differences, and like these cultures have such a huge impact on Christianity to this day. Culture is beautiful, but that's not your identity. That's not your ultimate identity. And that's
Yeah.
such a lie from the enemy, that that's who you are, and that should be how you act. That should be the foundation for your behavior and your friend groups. And anyway, I
Well,
also get worked up about these things.
no, you said a lot of wonderful stuff in there. I hope you at least keep part of that in. I see that as one of the most amazing gifts that God gives us is
Yeah.
the kinship, and not just sticking to your own tribe, but venturing out and learning what makes somebody from that tribe tick. I want to know why somebody feels a particular way, and I want to ask questions. I love asking questions. I do.
Yeah.
Um, I would I would love to hang out and talk with you a lot more and ask you more questions, because I have listened to enough of your episodes now to know that you've been super vulnerable and super open about some of the struggles that you've dealt with, and I appreciate that so much about you. And I have no doubt at all, Adira, that you have reached people that you'll never know that you reached them, and you don't need to know, because I know that's not why you're doing it. You're not doing it for the accolades. You're not doing it for the response. You're doing it because you genuinely care. And I love that you're doing it, and I hope that you keep doing it, and continue to allow God to bring that guard down from you, because you just never know what you're going to say that could save somebody's life. Seriously, like literally save somebody's life.